Well, former TRI chairman Pradeep Baijal is making headlines today for sensational claims that he was threatened by former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh to cooperate on the 2G issue. Mr. Baijal has written a book called The Complete Story of Indian Reforms, 2G Power and Private Enterprise, and in a series of chapters has outlined what he has described as his ordeal through the entire 2G case. And he now joins us live on NDTV today. Mr. Baijal, thank you very much for speaking to us today, sir. May I first ask you, what prompted you to write this book? What was the motivation?
I was literally hounded by government agencies and CBI for 4 years, and I could not speak because all my friends and lawyers advised me not to speak. And I did not speak. So I started writing this book somewhere in April last year, and I finished it in March. And when I finished it in March, I published it on Amazon. Then I wrote a little more, and then I wrote The Complete Story, which was published 15 days back.
When you say
what prompted me to write the book was that there was so much of publicity against me, so I had to explain my case. Of course, the 2G inquiries, etc., are all over, but I had to explain my case so that people know exactly as to what happened.
Okay, looking at the specific issues that you have raised in your book, perhaps the one that stands out as the most sensational in a sense is your allegation that the former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh told you that you could face harm if you did not cooperate with their scheme of things in the 2G case. You actually say that the CBI warned me that in each case, whether it was related to 2G and disinvestment, that I would be harmed if I didn't cooperate. And this is exactly what Prime Minister Manmohan Singh had told me would happen if I did not cooperate in their scheme of things in the 2G case. Can you elaborate on this alleged threat?
Basically, Mr. Maran had said that you better cooperate with me. I am Prime Minister Telecom, and you do what I am telling you. And I said I cannot do what you are telling me because that will lead to a big scam which none of us will be able to handle. He said, no, I am Prime Minister Telecom, you hear this, otherwise you will get into trouble. When I met Prime Minister after that, I told him that, so he asked me, why are you not cooperating with the minister? He's a minister. I said, yes, sir, but what he's saying is, if I follow his instruction, there will be a huge scam which none of us will be able to handle. And I will not do what he's saying. So, Prime Minister said that you should cooperate with the minister and listen to him. And I told him why I can't listen to him.
No, but did you tell the Prime Minister explicitly about Mr. Maran's alleged threat? You told him that this is what he said?
Yes, of course. Yes, of course. That he was saying that don't give a report which Cabinet has asked you to give. And Mr. Maran was telling me that was old Cabinet. That doesn't bind you. I said, no. Cabinet has said, if you don't want me to give the report, give it in writing.
But when you say...
But he was orally telling me that I am Prime Minister Telecom, you will get into severe trouble if you don't listen to me.
But you're saying that it was explicitly said to you by Mr. Maran that harm would come to you if you did not cooperate. Is that exactly what he said? As you allege, is that what you're alleging, Mr. Maran?
Absolutely right.
In those words?
Yes, he said you will get into trouble if you don't cooperate with me. And look, suppose I had cooperated, you would have been interviewing me in jail.
So you're saying you repeated that conversation verbatim to then Prime Minister Manmohan Singh and that he told you to cooperate with the minister. That is what you're alleging.
Well, I don't think you repeat the total conversation when you talk to the Prime Minister. But I did say that what Mr. Maran is saying is wrong. He's asking me not to give the report, which is not possible. And he said, you must cooperate with the minister. That might have been an advice also, or a threat, I don't know. I have reported what I remembered. But I have said that he was fully aware of what was happening, and that is not what I have said. That is what the finance minister's report to the PMO also said, which was all over in the press about 2 years back.
So you're saying that then Prime Minister Manmohan Singh was completely aware of what was going on, that wrongdoing was taking place, that a scam was unfolding before his eyes. You're alleging that he was completely aware of what was happening.
I have said that. I have said that, let me put it this way, I'm not the only person who said it. The finance ministry's report also says that everyone was aware. That report, famous report, which he sent to PMO, and which courtesy some RTI, it came out all over in the press.
You have mentioned in your book, in another chapter, about how you had reservations about Mr. Maran's appointment as telecom minister as well, Mr. Dayanidhi Maran. Now, did you express those concerns? And when you claimed that you were threatened, etc., did you complain to any authority, to the Prime Minister, then about these alleged threats and about what was going on? Did you speak up about it?
You see, this fact that there was a conflict of interest was coming out in the press all the time, and press was asking me all the time, is there no conflict of interest, etc. And I remember in some meeting, not specifically for this purpose, Prime Minister did mention, and I said that there is a conflict of interest and there is a big problem. And he said, look, you are an independent regulator, so it makes no difference. So then I didn't take the issue further.
But Mr. Baijal, when you say that Mr. Maran was actually literally telling you that you would be in trouble if you didn't cooperate on the 2G issue, and you yourself realized, you're saying that something wrong was taking place, did you report that to anybody? Did you raise those concerns in writing anywhere with any authority at that time?
Does any bureaucrat write a report that the minister is saying that this person is saying that, this person is saying it, and nothing happened? When I expressed my reservations, nothing happened as long as I was chairman TRAI. Nothing was done. So I don't have to report. And whom do I report? I was of the rank of a cabinet secretary. Where do I report? I was an independent authorities chairman. Where do I report? And I'm not a whistleblower that I report to NDTV.
But you could have certainly raised it with the Prime Minister in writing. It's not. It is unusual, but not entirely uncommon for serving bureaucrats to speak out when they have been wronged. Ashok Khemka being a case in point.
It doesn't happen that way. It doesn't
you felt
happen
you couldn't
that
speak
way.
out then.
It doesn't. Look, it doesn't happen that way. It doesn't. Nothing happened. Nothing went wrong at that point of time. And so, how do I report to the Prime Minister? I tell him that, look, Mr. Prime Minister, I told you this, now I'm writing this. This would have been silly. Nothing happened. I'm explaining to you repeatedly. Because the 2G scam started in 2009. The only thing which happened in 2009 was that, again, as part of a conspiracy, they started saying that 2009 happened because of a recommendation which I gave in 2003.
You've also claimed in your book that the CBI allegedly tried to get you to implicate former Minister Arun Shourie and Ratan Tata in the 2G scam, saying that if you wanted to save yourself, you needed to implicate them. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, I was told that you had given a recommendation only, and you say so, that whatever the minister did was wrong. So, and then there will be no problems. So now, obviously, at my level, I could not have been so irresponsible. I had given a recommendation, and he had acted according to that recommendation and according to the orders of the cabinet. Now, I couldn't keep giving around judgments on that.
Finally, Mr. Baijal, there are many, though, who will question why you chose to speak out now. You explained that you felt you were being persecuted and hounded, and this was the right time for you to, in a sense, speak out openly on this issue. But there are questions...
No, please understand.
Yeah.
No, please understand about timing. I started writing in March 2013. no, March 2014, just before the elections. Because till then I could not write because the investigations were going on, etc. And then I fell very seriously ill. I was out of circulation for 3 months. And I finished the book in March 2015. I put up the first part in March 2015. The second part I put in 15 days back. It was only that some Times of India bright correspondent picked up the book and wrote a story. So it has come out today. Ask the correspondent why he put it up today. He should have put it up 15 days back when I published the book.
All right, Mr. Baijal, it will be interesting to see how Dr. Manmohan Singh and Dayanidhi Maran respond to the serious charges that you've made in your book. Thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you. Well, we did contact Dr. Manmohan Singh's office and he has refused to comment on the allegations that are being made by Mr. Baijal. We've been unable to contact Mr. Maran for any reaction. It seems he's out of the country. Just wanted to get a sense from Shekhar Gupta and from Ashok Malik on what they heard. Shekhar Gupta, you know, sounds pretty sensational. Do you take it seriously or not?
See, first of all, Mr. Baijal has a pretty clean record. It's also well known that he was hounded, harassed. Can you imagine if you're an honest government servant, after retirement, CBI comes at you, you don't have, you know, you just have a pension and your savings. How do you get the best lawyers? And the environment at that point, sab chore hai, between the Anna movement and between the new rising sort of noise-making TV channels. Everybody was called a thief. So it was very tough, and I think I entirely sympathize with him, and I feel strongly for him. And you can see that he suffered a lot of pain. Also, knowing the way CBI was run at that point, and CBI is run by various governments in India, I do not put it past the CBI to try and get him to implicate, say, Mr. Arun Shourie or Mr. Ratan Tata, one by way of doing corporate balancing, and the second by way of trying to please the political bosses at that point. But having said so, what he's saying specifically about Dr. Manmohan Singh is that how does it matter to you who becomes minister? You are an independent regulator, which means you are an independent regulator, function as independent regulator. So you don't have to blow the whistle, you just have to be a good regulator and say this will be done, this will not be done, right? So I think to imply complicity by Dr. Manmohan Singh is a big stretch, and I don't believe it. At the same time, if you say that he was weak, he did not put his foot down, he looked the other way, and in fact did not save himself embarrassment for the future, that's a factual statement. I do not believe that's a revelation. All of us.
But you feel complicity is a bit of a stretch.
Complicity is a stretch, and what's he saying? He's saying, I said this with this minister there will be conflict, etc., etc., etc. So all right, you noted this. You are an independent regulator, and I disagree with Mr. Baijal where he says I could not have put anything in writing.
Yeah.
He didn't have to be whistleblower. He was not writing to the Indian Express, or NDTV or Hindu or the Times of India. He could have raised it. He could have written
I get
a secret note to the powers
some kind
that
of protest. What did you think, Ashok?
You see, as Shekhar says, there's nothing to suggest that there was an act of commission by Dr. Manmohan Singh, but an act of omission,
yes.
It certainly adds to the body of information we already have about Dr. Manmohan Singh. Letting his ministers, especially ministers who didn't listen to him, who belonged to allied parties or were strongmen within his own party, the Congress, pretty much do their own thing. We know separately, and Mr. Baijal alludes to this in his own book, that Ratan Tata was more or less blackmailed by Mr. Maran, so Ratan Tata says, especially when the Tata Sky permission needed to be granted by the ministry, and the Maran said essentially tie up with Sun, otherwise you're not going to get clearance. When Ratan Tata went to Dr. Manmohan Singh couldn't help him. The coal secretary, Mr. Parakh, said pretty much the same thing, that when he went to Manmohan Singh as his coal minister and then as his prime minister didn't come to his aid. So honest civil servants or regulators, when they went with a problem when they appealed to Dr. Manmohan Singh as prime minister against a minister who was being difficult, did not get justice. And actually this ends up strengthening the argument for a more authoritative PMO, frankly, which is a debate we've been having for the past few 2 days as to whether Mr. Narendra Modi is over-centralizing or is he too strong. But having seen the experience of the Manmohan Singh years, perhaps the polity is now veered towards a stronger and more authoritative
Well, I have
PMO.
30 seconds, Shekhar Gupta. Do you think that Manmohan Singh needs to come out and speak? I mean, he didn't speak when he was Prime Minister much, but do you think he needs to come out and talk about what has happened? Because there's so much that has been written and said, since he ceased to be Prime Minister on this issue.
Well, I wish he would. I wish he had been more communicative when he was Prime Minister. But I also wish now that time is still not gone. He should come out and throw some light on the look. There is nothing wrong with. I know he has a legal issue right now. He's facing a court case, but there's nothing wrong in letting air be cleared. Former presidents, former prime minister, heads of states around the world even write books about their experience in office, and I think that is good history, and that's. You never try to correct history. You can never correct history.
Well, he says,
but you can learn from history.
He said that that history would probably judge him more kindly than the media.
Well, I mean,
if he wants that,
maybe
maybe
he has to help history.
Yes, he has to perhaps
there were
help
a lot of good things he did as well, which will unfortunately be forgotten in this mess of scandal that his government.
No, in fact, I've written this many times that history will judge him much more fairly than media has, than journalism has done. But if he is our best educated and the most respected and the most honest Prime Minister so far, current one has only been there for a year, then he owes it to the people of India, who he led for 10 years,
to come out and speak.
To come out and speak the truth about many of these things, or at least tell his own story.
All right, well, I have to leave it at that. Thank you very much for your very brave run with us for the last couple of days as we've analyzed completely every different aspect of 1 year of this government. So hopefully tomorrow we'll have something else to talk about. Do join us then. Good night.